You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB on Rugby World Cup final eve, looking back at past World Cup finals involving the All Blacks. The last time the All Blacks lifted the William Webb Ellis Trophy, of course, 2015, a 34-17 win over Australia. Ben Smith was fullback that day, one of his 84 tests for the All Blacks. Ben, thanks for joining us. Where does that 2015 Rugby World Cup final sit in terms of your rugby career highlights?
G'day, Jace. Obviously, it was a good year, 2015. Getting that, was definitely up there around the World Cup, but also we managed to, for the Highlanders, win the Super Rugby title too, so it was a good year. But those would be probably my best rugby memories, two of those games, yeah. Going
into the final, do you remember being pretty confident, pretty optimistic about the way the All Blacks were travelling heading into such a big game?
I wasn't. Yeah, the pool player wasn't so optimistic. We weren't playing the best rugby in the pool play. Not like the boys have played this Rugby World Cup. They've been, I suppose, apart from that France game, but those other games they were playing some unreal footy. But yeah, it was obviously going to the final. We played really well against the French. We grinded out a win against South Africa in the semi, and I think once you get to that last game and you know it's a final and you can chuck everything out there, and I suppose in 2015 we had a few guys that were leaving just like they are now, with a few guys heading off after this tournament. I'm sure they'll want to finish with a bang, really.
So you're 16-3 ahead at half-time, so all pretty comfortable. And then, 10 minutes or so into the second half, I hate to bring this up, your yellow card, I had to check back. It was for a tip tackle.
Yeah, it was marginal too. Nigel Owens. Yeah, no, it was marginal, but probably a bit of red these days. To be fair, but I didn't get my technique right and ended up sitting on the chair on the side there, and it was a painful 10 minutes where Australia played really smart, kicked really well and scored a few points while I was off. It was my debut to a yellow card. I have never sort of managed to get one until the World Cup final, so I timed my run pretty well.
Yeah, I suppose you did, but you came back on. Dan Carter's dropped a goal, and then your part in Beauden Barrett's match-sealing try was significant, kicking it ahead for him to race on to. What do you remember about that move that led to Bodie sprinting away to score that decisive try?
The ball just sort of split it out and sort of fell at my feet and managed just to pick it up, and I knew I probably wouldn't have the gas to get there, so I just hacked it downfield, and Bodie, as he does, out of nowhere came through the middle and scored. And then obviously there was a pretty good feeling at that point. We knew we sort of had it in the bag. I suppose there's quite a bit of relief at the same time. And I know that the All Blacks team going into this final will feel a bit of relief, hopefully, after the final whistle of doing what you set out to do. And I know that was the same in 2015. There was I suppose the pressure they put on themselves, I think, is the big one. I know, we, as public, put a lot of expectation on them, but I know that that'll be nothing compared to what they have in their own heads around how they want to play and what they want to achieve, and probably more around what they want to do for each other. And you've seen that in the last few games.
And just on that, as you alluded to before, you were saying goodbye to a number of players after that 2015 Rugby World Cup. Some generational talents, Richie McCaw, I don't think we knew at the time, but his last test match, Dan Carter, Conrad Smith, Martin Nonu. This team has the same situation. A number of senior players will be departing after this World Cup, and quite a few of the coaching staff as well. Do you think that will have been talked about much, if at all, in the lead into this game?
I think it'll definitely be talked about, but it won't be until that final whistle's gone, and they've got what they want to. I think after when they're sitting there in the World Cup's in the middle of the room, and they've done what they want to, I think that's when they'll look back and they'll reflect on it. That's probably the time that they'll get to sit around, have a beer, or a drink, whatever they choose. I'd say it'll be a beer at that point, but and then I'm sure they'll sit around and reflect and do that right for the next few days after the final. But I think we're tracking pretty well around how we've been playing, and and look like we're really starting to hit our strides at the right time. Don't get me wrong, South Africa will be tough, but I think we're in a real good position to be able to do what we need to do.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.